And I'm going to turn it over to Vicki.
Right. Thank you, Father. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm glad you're here. And I know that sometimes it's really hard to have to show up for something and listen, and you don't know what you're expecting to hear, okay? But I promise you're going to hear stuff that's going to change your lives today. Well, how do I know that? Because people your age tell me that, all right? This is stuff that we've not heard, and you adults in the audience, you've not heard much of this either. This is science, and it's science that really supports the fact that we're fearfully and wonderfully made by God, that there are things that happen in our body that we had no idea about, all right? And that it helps us to make better decisions as we're growing up, going through college, about should I be sexually active or not? We need to make decisions about that. There's no 10 to 15 minutes of your life that can so radically change it in serious ways, in terms of a pregnancy, in terms of an STD, because most of us women can get our first STD on our first sexual activity. As guys, to know you got to make good decisions. You don't wake up one morning carrying an STD. You got it somewhere. And these are things that stay with us for life. They're not completely curable, all right? And this is sort of an outside-the-box talk in terms of material that we should have heard as adults, and we didn't hear it, okay? And I want to start by saying to you, I'm the mother of 6. We've got 4 sons, 2 daughters. 4 daughters, 2 sons, 10 grandchildren, all right? My husband and I have been married 45 years. We've been really blessed. And I've done ministry to women, for women who've had abortions. And my ministry started when I was in high school, all right? You go, what do you mean? Well, I went to a school that was a day school, boarding school, and a friend of mine who was a boarding student a year younger than I was had an abortion between her sophomore and junior year arranged by her mom. Now, this is before abortion was legal, but it was available. And my friend talked to me about that abortion all the time. And it turned out there was abuse in her family, and her brother was the father of that second baby. But then she told me that she'd already had a baby and placed it for adoption. And she said, I can live with the adoption. I can't live with the abortion. Now, I had no intention when I was your age of starting anything to be of assistance here, but it was clear to me that this was an experience that had set her life in a totally different direction. And it wasn't positive. She was hurting a lot. Well, I sort of hung on to my experience with her, and as your lives unfold, and I say this to you because God might plant something in your heart at this point in your life. And what you're told is, oh, you're just a teenager, well, wait until you're done with graduate school or whatever. But if God gives you it, hang on to it, all right? My experience was I got a degree in psychology. I worked in the apartment industry for a while, which helped me to really hone my listening skills because I referred people to renting apartments and I got paid a commission. We moved to another city. I was a birthright volunteer helping pregnant women to make choices for life. And then I got a call one summer, because we went back and forth from Wisconsin to Minnesota, from someone who worked in Wisconsin, that's where we were living now, and he offered me a job that I hadn't applied for, that I didn't want. And it was to be involved in the pro-life movement, but to be involved in the political aspect of it. And that's not my gift, okay? That just wasn't my gift. I wasn't interested, I declined. We aren't coming back until the fall. Well, I met him in the fall. He was nice, but he'd hired somebody, so I was off the hook. And then in November, he offered me the job again. And I was like, well, clearly it's not going away. So I said, okay, but I'm pregnant. The baby's due in March. If it's a fussy baby, I quit. He said, that's fine. That was a lot of years ago. I'm still doing this work. But what happened was I became Respect Life Director, which meant I got to do the whole gamut of talking about the sanctity of life, from the moment of conception to the moment of natural death. I liked that. I could do the political stuff if I had the other things going on. We were to help pregnant women, and the bishops of the United States called for a ministry of healing for people who'd had abortions. This is before anybody knew what the fallout looked like. And it spoke right to my heart, because I thought I could help my friend. And Project Rachel began in 1984. I was planning it for 7 years before it came together. But when it came together in 6 weeks. Everything fell into place. I invited the press. I had our priests and therapists and all kinds of people there. And that night at home, I wasn't telling them there was a ministry yet. This training was the first of its kind in the world. This reporter who had a friend who'd had an abortion called me, and she said, Vicki, we're going to break the story tomorrow morning in the daily paper. What story? There's a ministry coming. I said, oh, don't tell people that tomorrow, because I'm not ready to help them tomorrow. Well, she understood, but the editor didn't, and the next morning at 7 a.m., a radio station called and said, we'd like to interview you in 20 minutes on the front page story in the paper I hadn't seen. So I sent my husband out to get it, and I had a priest staying with me, and all day long, Father was my personal assistant, because I had TV stations at my house, I had radio stations, I had newspapers calling, and that went around the world that day. On the Feast of Our Lady of La Salette, who's known as the Consolation of Sinners, a weeping Madonna. And now I was an expert in a field that didn't exist the day before, and I had a lot of hustling to do to make this come together. But you guys are the future. I talk a lot to high school and college students. You have gifts and knowledge I don't have to this day in terms of computer skills, social media, things like that. When God plants something in your heart, you're the ones that are going to make a difference. You may well end abortion in your time, because you have knowledge and you know people who've lost children. You may well have lost a sibling. Sometimes that happens. Cousins. One of my daughters is surrounded by 5 cousins that were aborted, and they're all her age. And when she was a little girl, she asked me, how come, Mom, I don't have any cousins? And I didn't have an answer for her because I didn't know. And over the years, it's unfolded. Okay? You're survivors. You can speak for the unborn. You can speak for the disabled. You can speak for the elderly who are now in trouble because we're going to euthanize them. But I share that because you're here for confirmation. God's going to empower you in ways you don't even know. And again, you get dismissed so often by the adult world. Don't let them do that to you. Okay? Now, the question becomes, how come I got interested in this particular topic if I started a post-abortion ministry? Because life was happening in the meantime, all right? When I had our 4th child, I met a woman who lived near me, introduced by a priest friend, and they had just had their 4th child also. And we got to know each other. The kids became friends and that kind of thing. And we had our 5th kids, and they were born 5-6 months apart, but we were expecting our 6th kids, and they were due the same day. And the birthdays were just this week, on the 24th and 25th of March. And the doctor said it's due the same day. I thought, this is nuts. You know, this is not going to happen. Well, at midnight on the 23rd, I went to the hospital. My daughter Miriam is born at 7 a.m. on the 24th, and my friend Joan's in the next room in labor. Now, John took a nap, so his birthday's the 25th, but he is born within 24 hours of my daughter. Weird. One of those things you tuck away. I'm reading a book coming home from a conference on the anthropology of mothering, and I discovered something. And that is, we women who spend time together, if we are not chemically contracepting, will cycle together. When you guys go to college and you're in the dorm, there might be one really interesting week when you're all PMSy at the same time, all right? If you live in a house with sisters, this may already be happening. In our house with 4 daughters, there was a week where my husband and 2 sons went to ball games, went shopping. It wasn't really pretty at the house, it was a little tense. But I was fascinated by that. And how do we do that? Because there's a certain scent, these things called pheromones that I'll talk about, that cause us to do this. Why would we need to do that? Because in the very old days, we didn't have bottles, we didn't have formula. If I died, the only way my baby would survive is if there was someone within my community who had a baby the same age. Because newborn milk and toddler milk isn't the same. A newborn cannot survive on toddler milk, and vice versa, okay? Our bodies change with every feeding of the baby. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, how interesting that we're all in this dance together in terms of our cycles and in terms of things and stuff you guys are into in terms of each other, but also in terms of the people you'll one day marry, okay? And that's where this talk came from, all right? And what I want to start by saying is we are all really connected to each other. And in our society, we don't talk about that. We used to live in an area, we had grandmas, we had aunts, we had cousins, we had lots of people we were connected to, but now people go away. And we don't have that kind of connection. And it's very interesting because the first thing I'm going to say to you is that the Chinese say we are more likely to get the diseases of our grandmother than our mother. Now, why would that be? Well, this being grandma, this being mom, this being you. When grandma was pregnant with mom, all the ovum your mother ever had were already present in her baby body at 20 weeks. That's only halfway through a pregnancy, all right? You women have all the ovum you're ever going to have. You will make no more, all right? And for you guys, the cells that make the sperm are present early on like this too. You don't make any more of the cells that produce the sperm, okay? So if grandma was in stress, mom got those chemicals in her body, and they changed all her ovum, okay? This is called an unfolding field of science called epigenetics, all right? And we don't realize how closely connected we are, all right? So if grandma was in stress, you may have a body hardwired for stress, both males and females. And some of the first research on this was actually done with guys. And they were men who were in the famine in the Netherlands after World War II, the fathers were. And something, I don't know what it was, but something led researchers to look at their sons and their grandsons. And what they discovered was that depending on when the famine happened, their sons were either very short of stature and very slender, or were obese. And they had certain propensities for certain types of cancer, heart disease. It was amazing, that interconnection across generations, okay? So that's the first thing. Now, the other thing is this, all right? Everybody in the world, can't say that very often, be accurate. Everybody in the world carries the mitochondria of their mom. All right, what are those? They're the energy bodies of your cells. It's not just your mom. It's your mom's back to 7 lines of women with the scientific understanding that there's possibly an Eve that started this. If you guys go online, you'll see the Ancestry.com and some of these things talking about trace your ancestry. That's what they're looking at here. And they can tell you which of the 7 lines of women you came from and what their migrational pattern was through history, all right? The interconnection across generations. Now, you guys have something else. You've got the mitochondria. But the guy who wrote this book was called The 7 Daughters of Eve, wondered if you guys had something that was similar. And what he discovered is that your Y, which I'll talk about more in a minute, is your father's Y. And they can do the same kind of analysis and see where you came from. But what's interesting about the Y is that it's got markers on it. What do I mean? Well, in the Jewish community, there's the tradition of the priestly caste. The men of the members of the priestly caste have a marker on their Y. And one of the first articles I saw on this was about a Hispanic priest down in New Mexico. They were doing this, and he had the marker of the Jewish community. Now, long ago, in Spain, there was a big Jewish community, and so there was probably intermarriage. But this connection across generations to the people who've gone before us is very, very interesting, okay? Now, a couple of other things. I want to say just a little bit about men and women. Duh, all right, that's what we're talking about. We women are XX, and you guys are XY. Gentlemen, I have bad news for you. You're the weaker of the two sexes. Pay attention, all right? We women, we got 2 X's. We got 3,500 to 6,000 genes on one of them. We have 2. And in our body, they trade off. So my heart might be X1, my heart might be X2. I might be a carrier for something like color blindness, but it wouldn't show up in me because this X will be the vision thing, all right? But you're carrying this, all right? It's fascinating how our bodies are complex. So if you are identical twin girls, you do not have identical bodies because of this random assortment of the 2 X's. If you guys are identical twin boys, you have identical bodies. Because you have the X. So you've got a lot more genes from your mom, good news or bad news, and that Y has only got 72, and it does something totally different. And this is the reason why, if there's a disease or something, you're more likely to get to succumb to it. More boys are conceived than girls, but by the time we get to be young adults, there should be about 105 men to about 100 women, and it's about 135 guys that are conceived, all right? But just because they die in utero, they die as babies, as little kids, as adolescents. So this balance is critical. Now, some places in the world we've tipped the balance. So in China and India and North Korea, we have a problem because baby girls are aborted. They have no value. And we now have populations of men that are about 120 to 135 males per 100 women. Why is that significant? One, the culture runs on testosterone, and they're more likely to be more alike, all right? Women tend to balance this for us. Also, now they are trafficking in daughters, because in the rural areas where they have daughters, they're selling them. And the girls are 11 to 14, they are sold, they are transported across China, across India, these are vast areas, and they are sold either as wives or as prostitutes. Now the problem is this is brutal. And these women are running, and in these countries, they're trying to figure out what to do with the girls because they don't know how to go home. They lived in these very little hamlets that aren't even on a map. She doesn't know how to get home. And so, where those countries are trying to find ways to help them, to educate them, whatever, but this awareness, this is a really significant issue, okay? Now, some years ago, I was at a conference, and there was a Catholic sister and there was a man psychiatrist from Canada. And they were talking about the difference between men and women's brains. Now, I'm going to say to you that this concept that we promote of gender neutrality is a bunch of baloney. Because if they do brain scans, they can tell if you're a girl or a boy without seeing you because our brains grow differently. It's obvious. When our kids were little, this was the start of, gender neutrality, and if we only gave our girls trucks and our boys dolls. Okay, we did. I got 4 daughters. They all had a truck. They wrapped them in blankets. They gave them names. They had parties. And these trucks lasted forever. And I think one of my daughters possibly opened the door of the truck because she can change her brakes. The other 3 sisters are clueless, all right? Gave our sons dolls. They're 8 years apart. Big brother got the doll. He and the kid down the block decided that they made great footballs. Doll never got a party, never got a name, never got a blanket or a nap, and in 2 weeks it was thrown out, right? Second son came along, he's 8 years younger, and there were these school dolls called buddy dolls, and they were boy dolls, they had tools and stuff, and our son really liked his buddy doll. And one Saturday, we went to the grocery store, and the older siblings were in charge. And son number 1 decided they should play a game. It was called Sacrifice the Buddy Doll. It's not a girl game. It's not a nice game, all right? And when my son told me about it was some years later, I didn't really know what to say to him. I felt awful about this. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. And then I said, and I wasn't being flip about this, but I said, our society sort of points us in the direction that, when we go into midlife, we should go into counseling. And you have something to talk about. And what he said with great emphasis was, yes, I do. There were some other issues with his older brother, all right? But this acknowledgement that they've done this with monkeys. They had, little monkeys, girls and boys, put out a bunch of toys, okay? Trucks and blocks and balls and, soft, fuzzy, toys of some kind. All the girl monkeys picked the girl toys and all the boy monkeys picked the boy toys. All right? What's that about? Okay? That's not being more monkeys, but anyway. But that connection there is interesting. So these 2 people were talking about male brains and female brains and how we might draw them. This would be a male brain. It's a series of boxes. The gift that most of you men have is that you're linear thinkers. You can absolutely focus on something. And it's hard to keep 2 or 3 things going at the same time, all right? Why? Because you were hunters, you were seafarers, your life depended on being able to focus. Now, some men are triage thinkers, you just need to know how you think, but by and large, that's where it came from. Now, you guys think your way through things like this, all right? Single focused. There's a guy who runs a school out in California, which is ingenious because from kindergarten to grade 12, they have boy classrooms and girl classrooms. Because the reality is we learn differently. You guys learn better if your body is moving. Well, in a classroom, as they sit, you're supposed to be sitting in your desk, right? Not wandering around. Well, in this school, they have like the coffee tables you see at Starbucks, the high ones. You guys work at those tables. You're standing up, all right? They've got balance balls. They've got a lot of manipulative math stuff because you learn better manipulation. You know, in a classroom, you know, it goes like this. The teacher says, okay, take out your paper, your pencil, and put your name on the top of the page. We girls are all over that, all right? You guys don't get past here. Drawings, spitballs, airplane. What does the teacher say? You're not paying attention. No, you're paying absolute attention. You're just paying attention to one part of the instruction, okay? So, what this guy told me is that one of these boxes is an empty box, all right? If I ask you guys what you're thinking about, what do you tell me? Nothing, right? You can think about nothing, we can't, right? And it's funny, because usually the whole audience will, the guys go, nothing, and you girls go, nothing? How do you do that? But see, again, long ago, when you were hunting at night, what you would do is you build a fire, you would fire gaze. You would simply sit companionably side by side, not really having a conversation, just kind of regrouping, all right? It was important that you mended any, you know, you were mad at your friend, you had to fix that, because your life tomorrow depended on that friend. If you were being stalked by a lion or something, your friend needed to defend you, and if he was not on your side, your wife could not be here right now, right? Now, we women, okay, we have what I call a triage brain. Why? We lived in the community with our children, with other women. They were hunters, we were gatherers. We needed to know where the food was. We needed to know who was safe to be our friend. We needed to know where the kids were. We had all these things we had to keep track of if we were going to survive. So we can do this. We know that the toddler's gone outside, the cat's throwing up, supper's burning, and I have to go to the bathroom. And we will not usually lose anybody in that. You guys have to be a little harder, okay? But this awareness that it's complementary. God made us to complement each other, not to be the same. And for us to own our masculine genius and our feminine genius is very important, okay? But this awareness of the difference here is really important. You know, we girls are much better at reading faces. Guys are not so good at reading faces, all right? And as you go through dating relationships, ladies, you need him to pay attention, you have to cry. Okay? He'll listen then. But otherwise, he can't read what's on our face. We're good at that, okay? We're tuned in different ways. You guys draw verbs, exploding things, you know, cars, you know, whatever, rocket ships. And your favorite colors are? I'm just looking at the colors you have on. Yeah, right here. Blue, gray, black, all right, a little white, all right? We women draw nouns. Love, butterflies, lots of colors, okay? It's a difference in how we see the world, okay? No one's not better than the other, we're just different, but to appreciate that, okay? Now, something also to know later on, in terms of the men in your life, if you're talking to a guy and he's reading the paper, he's deaf. Do not assume that he heard you. Make sure. Dear, did you hear what I said to you? I still do this to my husband. I forget when I talk to him when he's reading the paper. Then I'm like, dear, did you hear me? No. What did you say? All right? It's just appreciating, okay, that we're different and knowing where those things are in terms of our relationships, okay? Now, in terms of some of the things that are involved in intimacy, and we have to understand, again, we live in a society that wants us to believe that it's all up here in this part of my brain. Whatever my intention is, that's how it is. So if I'm going to get engaged in hookup sex, it doesn't matter because my intention is not to bond. You're wrong because your body bonds you whether you want to or not. And you're changed by every one of those exchanges. For us women, that's also true. And I'm going to talk about this in a sense of how intense this is in terms of being changed. All right? It's interesting. One of the books here says, you know, we need to tell you girls, don't let somebody hug you until you're really ready for a relationship because hugs build trust. All right? We might not make a good decision about this person that we're thinking about. We gotta be careful about our making of choices here. Now, I want to say a little bit about our bodies, all right? God made us to bond in the most intense way through acts of sexual intimacy. That's baloney. No, I'm going to tell you how it is, okay? You figure it out. We have to be aware of this. God called us to be monogamous, to meet and mate with someone, and to stay together. And there are things that can get in the way of this, all right? Now, the first thing that I want to say here is that we women have 2 ovaries. They're the size of almonds, but if I draw them that small, you won't see them. We have fallopian tubes that don't touch the ovary, but kind of surround it, all right? Okay? Our uterus, our cervix, all right? Every other month, our ovaries, well actually every 3rd month, our ovaries begin to prepare the ovum that are going to be given off in a given month. Always, maybe 10, all right? And only 1 or 2 are actually ovulated. This doesn't connect, so they're simply ovulated into our abdominal cavity. And there are little hair-like protrudences here called cilia. They create a little suction and they will move then the ovum up here, all right? Now, we women have to know that our period has to do with keeping us healthy. Because when I get my period every month, it cleans out everything that's in here, okay? Might be bacteria, might be viruses. The lining, it's the only place in the body that every month restores itself, all right? There's no place to store, you guys. You don't have the equivalent in your body, all right? That's an important thing for us to know. There are special arteries. Only we women have them. They're called spiral arteries. They shut down, that's your cramps. They turn on, they wash us out, all right? Now, we have to know that you guys have 3 kinds of sperm. These are highly technical terms. They're called egg getters. They're called blockers. And they're called killers. And it's a British guy, I think maybe he plays rugby, but that's just an assumption, all right? Now, egg getters are the sleek sperm, okay, that are capable of entering an ovum. The blockers are irregularly shaped, and they have a job. The blockers fill in crypts here so that the egg getters can get through. Your sperm are unable to penetrate an egg unless they are changed in the body of your wife. And they're changed right up in here. It's a phenomenon called capacitation, okay? And now the head of the sperm is capable of entering an ovum, and I'll come back to that in a minute, all right? The problem with killers is this. It pertains to us, women. If you have multiple partners in a short period of time, the killers are activated. They are highly poisonous. Their intention is to kill the sperm of all those other men. It's all about who gets to the ovum, all right? There are some sports analogies here. And it changes the chemistry of our uterus. Our uterus is normally acidic. You guys are alkaline. The last thing that gets put on sperm before it leaves your body is a coating of vitamin C, so it'll survive in a woman's body. Otherwise, it'll be immediately neutralized, okay? This whole piece, with the killers, your uterus now becomes alkaline. And you are highly likely to develop a very nasty infection called bacterial vaginosis, which better be treated really fast, all right? It tips the whole chemistry, all right? We're not designed to have multiple partners. Our body just isn't in that place. Now, the other thing that we need to know is that seminal fluid has many properties. It's one of the most complex fluids in the human body. It's got 30 different compounds, okay, that have to do with enhancing our immune system, that have to do with helping the sperm to move better, lots of complex things, and a bunch of hormones. Follicle-stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, prostaglandins, those are women hormones in your seminal. Every act of intercourse, we absorb seminal fluid from the partner for 15 hours. You are biologically changed by that. This is not something to pass off, all right? We need to understand that. In the old days, we girls didn't get our period till we were 15 or 16. And they were not regular until you had your partner for marriage. And then your body became regular and you conceived, all right? In the 1930s, doctors observed that women who had not been sexually active had what were called immature uteruses. I can't find the definition, but that's what they talked about. Once they married, if they had unprotected sex with their partner, now their body finished and they were able to get pregnant. People who had protected sex were left infertile. Very interesting, okay? So this question of how our bodies work here is important for us to appreciate, because by every act of intimacy, we're changed, all right? The first stage of falling in love, okay, or falling into infatuation, as it might more properly be called, okay, call it infatuation, because it's the first stage, okay, is under the influence of something called PEA. It's a long Latin term. It's an amphetamine. That's the excitement of falling in love for both men and women. It's awesome, but it only lasts a little while, okay? Lasts 4 months to maybe 3 years, okay? And if our body is working, and if this is a relationship that has legs and potential, we move from infatuation to love. And the chemistry is now different. It's the chemistry of oxytocin, okay? What's that? Well, it's actually an opiate. This is the bonding hormone. This is the hormone we women need when we give birth. This is the chemistry we get from each other when we're stressed and we just hang out together. Because women used to do that. You guys, you hang out with your buddies. It settles your testosterone. When you were little and you used to do the push, shovel, wrestle, which you still do, because when I was giving this talk today, I had 2 adult males afterwards pushing and shoving outside the lab, all right? What's it about? It's about who's testosterone dominant. If you guys stay in the same community, the guy who was the leader, okay, when you were little is the guy who's still in high school is the dominant male, all right? You guys work in this sort of dominance system, again, because you were hunters. There had to be a leader. You couldn't all be skipping off doing your own thing, because one of you is, well, one or more, we're going to be eaten as opposed to coming back, okay? You needed to protect yourselves. You guys will settle disagreements, and we women don't. We hold grudges, okay? You know that girl, huh? We all sort of unite against her, depending on she's new, she's cute, she's whatever. We women have this pack mentality. And we'll make fun of her, we'll ignore her, we'll be cruel to her. It's not very nice, okay? But we need to know that it's part of how we functioned in that community, because we had to protect our children, we had to protect our food source. And so there was this difference here in terms of how we coped with those kinds of experiences, all right? And again, we're complementary to each other. One's not better than the other, but we're different. But to be aware of those differences is an important thing, okay? This is the stuff of long-term love, okay? This is a much calmer experience. It's not that really you're high on this relationship. This is the stuff that lasts, okay? This is the reason why he might text you 32 times during the day. Son, isn't that romantic? Yeah, except when you move over here, you realize he was stalking you. Okay, end of relationship, all right? But that difference here in terms of how this moves forward, okay? Now, a couple of other things here, several other things quickly. The first is this. We women carry cells from every child we ever conceived the rest of our lives. They're everywhere in your body. If you have an abortion or a miscarriage, you get more cells from those children than you do your full-term children, all right? You carry your mom's cells. By 4 weeks in utero, your mom's got your cells. By 13 weeks, it's reversed. All right? How many of you have older siblings? Guess whose cells you carry? Your mom gave them to you during pregnancy. My youngest daughter concluded, rather loudly, that she assumed she had gotten the best cells of her older siblings because she is by far my exceptional child. You may use that if it makes you feel better, all right? But these cells are there. And the cells of our mothers, if you were born with a disability of some kind, the cells of your mother gathered there like they were trying to fix it. In our mother bodies, if we have an illness, the cells of our children gather there like they're trying to fix it. There's so much we don't know, but this is unfolding research. But again, that connection across generations. You have grandma cells as well as your mom's cells. I think this is related to mother's intuition, okay? One of our children was born with an anomaly. She had kidney blockage, which I couldn't see, but I knew there was something wrong with that baby. When she was 6 months old, she got deathly ill. She almost died. The doctor found the problem, did surgery, and actually there was a miracle. He left her kidney in, even though it was mostly destroyed. And he said, better some than none. And 1 year later, it was normal. Kidneys don't regenerate. That was an answer to prayer, okay? Now, one of my sons lived in Thailand for 3 years. And we used to talk to him every week. And he's a communicator by trade, but he ain't so hot in person sometimes. And so, we call him, how's Thailand? Fine. How's your job? Fine. How's the food? Fine. How's the apartment? Fine. All right. Well, one night I woke up and I had jaw pain. I couldn't open my mouth, and I'd never had this happen before. I got up and I managed to take some aspirin, and the next day it was a little better. The third day it was gone. 2 months later, he calls home. He begins by saying, Mom, did I mention I went to the hospital? No. When? About 2 months ago. Really, no problem. I had jaw pain, I couldn't open my mouth. They gave me medicine, and on the third day it was gone. Now, I can tell you who can explain that. They're the quantum physicists. I've had them in one of these talks, and they go, I can explain it. Well, I couldn't understand it. I must be quantum physics. But this ability of our cells to communicate across time and space is a possibility. We intuitively know that, think back, when we were raising children and we didn't have doctors, we didn't have medicine, wouldn't it make sense that we knew that child was sicker or weaker, and that child needed extra attention if it got sick? It's about preservation of the species. This is stuff God built into us. And it's phenomenal when you think about it, okay? Again, things we need to know. Now, gentlemen, listen to me. Do not put your cell phone in your pants pockets. Take them off. Why? Because the radiation causes damage to your sperm, all right? Do not work with a laptop directly on your lap for the same reason. We women need to be careful about this too. There's not as much written about us, but where do we often have to carry our cell phone? Isn't it up here? Well, that's where your ovaries are. And there is lots of radiation coming from our phones. We need to know this stuff, okay? Now, the other stuff you guys need to know is this. You're told that pot is benign. No problem. We can legalize it everywhere. There's not a problem. It's not a gateway drug. Yeah, they neglect to tell you something. THC? Oops, my pen isn't writing back here. Does what? Damages sperm. Look it up. All right? We women, if we have THC in our body, there's another issue. All right? When the sperm is going to enter the ovum, the chemistry here of communication is similar to THC. If you have THC in your body, it messes with it. When the baby is conceived, moving down the fallopian tubes into the uterus. Is that one working better? All right, okay. Thank you. All right. Moving down into the uterus, it's the same chemistry. You have THC in your body, you have THC in your body. This is going to mess with conception. All right? We need to know these things because we need to make good decisions. And we're not told about them. So, now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about I mentioned this a minute ago, about how the sperm is changed in our women bodies. The ovum, out of the millions of sperm, all right, there's about a half teaspoon in ejaculation. There's 200,000 sperm in there. They're very little. All right? But the ovum signals out of all those millions of sperm, somehow there's communication, and it goes that way. It isn't random. All right? And the sperm is drawn to it. The capacitation allows it to penetrate the ovum. It moves in. The reason you don't carry the mitochondria of your mothers in your body or of your fathers is this. Mitochondria is back here. That tail falls off. So it's only your mother's mitochondria from this egg that's present, okay? But this becomes the midline of your body as it develops, right? The baby's in charge of pregnancy, not mom. The baby's signaling that it's there. It immediately begins to change things. By 4 weeks into the pregnancy, you women are carrying the cells of your baby and your scent changes. And why is that significant? Because you guys recognize that she's pregnant and your body changes. Okay, 4 weeks, all right? Now, what happens to the guy's body? Well, the first thing is you get cortisol. Now, that's a stress hormone, but not right now, it's a protector hormone. Nature's saying, pay attention, something important's going on, all right? Then, 60 to 90% of men, if they're with their pregnant partner, will develop something called couvade. It's French for hatching. You get symptoms, gentlemen. 20% of you get really sick. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, what's your problem? I'm nauseous, I'm throwing up, I got headaches, backaches, toothaches, I'm not sleeping well, I'm anxious, he mumbles, and I have food cravings, and I've gained about 6 pounds. And the doctor says, oh, it's a virus, it'll go away. No, it's not. You're in the dance of pregnancy with her, and you are being changed by this, all right? So, what happens here, about 6 weeks before the baby comes, is that your testosterone drops, okay? You get more estrogen, and yes, gentlemen, you have some estrogen in your bodies, okay? I know that's hard to handle, but it's there. You get more cortisol. You get this hormone called vasopressin. Now, I want to say a word about that. That is predominantly a male sexual bonding hormone. You have intercourse with someone, you now have preference for that female, even if this was not intended to have any meaning. You have preference for her and you're jealous, all right? It is one of those pieces. Now, we get a little vasopressin, but it does something different in our bodies. Now, the other thing you guys get is prolactin. Anybody recognize what that is? It's the nursing hormone. They've got it for 6 weeks. We're nursing, but this changes them. It makes them more gentle, it makes them more tender. And you guys, when you become a father, your brain changes. They do brain scans. Your brain is different. It's awesome, all right? Sort of scary, but it's awesome. You know, we women are changed by our pregnancies. It's important for us to be able to carry our first pregnancy because it gives you protection against what? Breast cancer, among other things, all right? We're at serious risk here in terms of breast cancer and some other things if we aren't able to carry our first pregnancy or if we're using chemical contraceptives. Chemical contraceptives, meaning the pill and other things, are type 1 carcinogens according to the World Health Organization. We are not told that. We have been lied to. There are all kinds of health issues that we aren't told about, all right? One of them is if you are dating someone, okay, we have a gift. Here, let me go back over here a minute here. We women are given a gift, and sorry guys, you don't have this gift, all right? You got another one, but you don't have this one. When we women meet a man for the first time, who could be a potential mate, by scent, these are pheromones, we recognize whether he is a good match for us or not biologically, okay? It's intuitive, it's a different part of your brain. It's not where perfume is, it's in front of it, it's a very small nerve right here, it's called terminal nerve or nerve 0. We, men and women, perceive pheromones, which are these hormones of connection, by 2 pits in the septum of our nose that communicate with this nerve. We would recognize family. If you had a brother or a sister out there you didn't know about and you met them, you'd be attracted to them because you recognize the scent. You wouldn't necessarily know they were a relative, but there'd be this draw. As babies, we know the scent of our mother, okay? When they're born, they know our scent. If you give them an opportunity to sniff something of yours and something of another, they'll turn to your scent every time, okay? Now, this little part that overlap here has to do with your father's immune system. This is called the MHC complex, okay? If you are chemically contracepting, whether you're on it for health reasons or not, you are attracted to a totally different man. You're attracted to a man whose immune system is very much like your father's or your brother's. This is a fertility issue, infertility being the issue. This is a fertility possibility, but the issue here is if you go off the pill, you will not find him attractive anymore. He will be massively adverse to you. You need to know this, because the doctors tend to put us on the pill for cramps and acne and all those things. If you're at the point where you're serious about looking for a partner, you have to know this. The British wrote about it in an article in The Guardian called Sniff Test. And they said, okay, you wanna, you've been living with this guy, and you wanna have children, well, you need to go off the pill for a while, and then you guys need to wear the same t-shirt for 3 days without any scented anything, and then we need to smell him and see if he smells good or not, because he might not, and if he doesn't, he's the wrong mate. You look at divorce, there's some real significant issues here in terms of these women divorcing their mates, right? There's other stuff that we haven't been told about. We women, when we're on the pill, our brain changes. It grows like a male brain. If I were going to show you pictures, okay, of something called emotional memory, so I show you guys and you women a picture, and it's an accident, and there's peripheral stuff. There's a puppy over here, there's a fire hydrant over here. You men will see the accident. You don't tend to see the peripheral. You focus. We women on the pill see it just like they do. We only see the accident. We lose our ability to see the peripheral. That's one of our gifts. We have better peripheral vision. We observe all the extra things in there. Something we need to know about, all right? We need to know that there's the possibility of strokes, of blood clots. Does anybody tell us that? No? And I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you this. Because 4 years ago, my daughter's best friend died from the pill. She collapsed on a campus. She was on the pill for health reasons. She was filled with blood clots. For 4 days, 5 days, she was in the hospital. A kid sat with her parents. They got the blood clots out of her heart. They got them out of her lungs. And then she was awake, and her parents had to tell her that they were going to let her die because they couldn't get the rest of the blood clots out of her body. This is serious. We need to understand how serious that is, okay? I was on the pill at one time, long time ago. I had migraines. I had awful migraines. And I went to my doctor, and he's like, oh yeah, girls get migraines. And then I saw a different doctor who said this. Oh, you have migraines? You're on the pill? Get off it now, you're a stroke risk. You could have a stroke tomorrow. Scared the bejeebers out of me, all right? We aren't told about the fact that if I'm on the pill, it changes my cervical mucus. You are much more likely to contract an STD if you were on the pill, because it changes the way your body works, okay? That's a big deal. Why? Because STDs are not curable. Some of them you will carry with you. You will pass them on to your children in terms of things like herpes, HPV, all right? We need to know that. And we need to be in a position to make good decisions. Long term, it's related to what? Gallbladder, glaucoma, different kinds of cancers, okay? And not to mention the fact that women on the pill have their libido die. Okay, you are not sexually interested. You have lost interest, and it may never come back. Furthermore, you're depressed. 50% of women on the pill are depressed. Doctors give us an antidepressant. They don't ask if we're on the pill. We need to be taking care of ourselves, all right? And you guys need to be aware of this too, because the pill influences you. There's a man by the name of Lionel Tiger. He wrote a book with Robin Fox, and their mothers named him that, okay? But he thought men were influenced by the pill when it came out. And so he took a colony of monkeys to an island, all females, one male. And the male was faithful to 3 of the females. He did not look at any of the others. When they put those 3 on chemical contraceptives, he lost interest and he took up with 3 others. Weird, okay? Then they put the whole community on. His sperm count dropped like a rock. He lost interest in the females, and he masturbated excessively. This may be related in part to some of our pornography issues, all right? You are supposed to be living in a culture where we women ovulate, and you guys have a biological response to this. Ovulation is the midpoint, okay, in terms of our cycle, okay? This is called the follicular phase. That's when the follicles are developing, the ovum. Ovulation is here. And over here is what's called the luteal phase. Now, the luteal phase is when the little pockmark that ejected the ovum becomes a major chemical factory. If you are pregnant, that is what keeps that baby alive until it implants and builds its placenta, all right? This happens every month, all right? When you guys are with an ovulating woman, you have a biological response. You are sexually interested. Your testosterone goes up. Now, why do I share this? Because when we women are ovulating, we dress differently. We dress to impress. We got a little more color in our cheeks, hair's a little better, little décolletage. We are also interested at this point sexually because there's this little window of a very short period of time where a baby could be conceived. Why am I telling you this? Because this is a date rape issue, people. If you're ovulating, he's having a response, he doesn't know what's going on, neither do you. It's important for us to recognize this, to keep track of our cycles, all right? It's critical. In Denmark now, adolescent women are required in school to keep track of their menstrual cycles. Everybody is required to do it, to do charting. I share this because I deal with women who've had abortions. And so often when I talk to them, they said, I only had sex once. I'm not supposed to be able to get pregnant. But you were ovulating. That's why you were interested. You know, it's funny, in our family, I have one daughter, the one I think might have checked the truck, okay, because she's known as Miss Never Had an Unspoken Thought. And when I learned this, I was talking to the two daughters who were home, her and the other one, and her sister, younger sister, came downstairs, and she had on makeup, and she had décolletage, and her hair was different, and her big sister said, what are you, ovulating? Go put your clothes on, all right? A little knowledge can be a dangerous thing, especially if you have a big sister, all right? We need to recognize this. This is God's gift to us, but we need to do something about it. If you guys think sex is a good idea, you need to practice saying something. Daddy, daddy, daddy. Are you ready to take the responsibility of a child? Are you ready to live with the pain if she has an abortion? Because I'm telling you, you guys hurt after an abortion. Your body, you are just so sad, and you are so angry, and you are so confused. And remember, your body was changing in this too. We don't even know the long-term consequences of that body change, all right? For you as women, okay, abortion is presented as an easy out. I've spent my life picking up the pieces of women's lives. I've listened to them say, how could I do that? Why did I do that? As young women, you need to know, and you guys need to know, your brain doesn't finish till you're 19 for starters, and 25 for the second part. The part that's redeveloping is the logical part of your brain. You go, big deal. Yeah, okay, here's the story. If you start smoking as a teenager, you will develop 4 times the number of nicotine receptor sites than an adult would. Alcohol, sex, it's changing your brain permanently. We need to know that. At age 25 is when the last part of the brain comes online. You guys 25, 26. It's called the corpus callosum, and it's the link from the left brain to the right brain. It's what allows you to process trauma. Before that, you can't. It's in your brain, it's stored, but you can't get to it. All right? We aren't told how fragile we are. And it's important for us to make real good decisions, okay? Sex seems like a good idea with your girlfriend. You two decide that you need to go to your separate houses and think about this. Because there's nothing that can so radically change your life, all right? And this question of multiple partners. If I've conceived babies with different men, even though I might not have birthed them, my future children are carrying cells from people they're not related to. What's the long-term consequence of that? Because there are some, all right? We have to make real decisions about our sexuality, about our intimacy. And when you start, you know, you're trying to build a relationship that'll last a lifetime. You need to start with friendship and not with sex. Because you never get to the friendship part if you start with sex. And as guys and girls, we need to understand the need to make these decisions. We need you guys to protect us, okay? In all seriousness, to be aware of risks and things. And it's not a sexist issue. In fact, it's very interesting. There's this book called Girls Uncovered that talks about, you know, girls' sexuality. It's kind of scary how many people have had intercourse by the time they're seniors. It's about 50%, 60%. Oh, well, okay, we might just get involved in oral sex. You have to understand that you may well get mouth cancer or throat cancer from that, because HPV is an equal opportunity infector. It doesn't matter where it is in your body. And women's magazines write about the fact that when you go to the dentist, you better get this checked, all right? The awareness, one of the things in here that they talk about, and it just caught my whole attention. I just want to share it with you. It says, remember that sex is sexist. When it comes to negative consequences of sexual activity, girls easily get the worst of it. Most of the cancer from HPV occurs in women. And all of the long-term effects of pelvic inflammatory disease, such as infertility, pelvic pain, occur in women. And we have to know that if we're carrying a sexually transmitted disease and we have an abortion, it may well cause it to become pelvic inflammatory disease. It spreads it. When a boy gets a girl pregnant, he doesn't carry the baby for 9 months. She does. And she's usually the one that takes care of the baby when it's born. She may seem to suffer more depression than boys after sexual relationships are broken. I was very struck by that because that's true. All right? This question of how do we make decisions is an important one. And hopefully, in having shared this information with you guys and you girls, there's an awareness of how complex this is. This is not just, activity that's pleasant. It's got long-term consequences. We're changed, you guys are changed. We need to understand that, and we need to speak openly to each other about this, all right? I ask girls who've been sexually active, did you ever ask your boyfriend if he had an STD? No. Well, did you look to see if he had any lesions or anything? No. Why not? Because I didn't know him well enough. You're willing to have sex with him, and you're not going to ask him about infections that may stay with you the rest of your life and pass to your children? You better ask the question. And you guys, you don't wake up with an STD one morning, okay? It's not a naturally occurring event. You got it somewhere. But it stays with you as well. And you pass it on to the people you care about. We need to make choices. If I'm not having random sexual activity, I'm not infected. When you marry, you're not passing this to your partner, and the same for us women. To make those choices that allow us to have the kind of happy life that we want to have, okay? You guys are entitled to your dreams. You really are. To meeting the man that you want to spend your life with. I met my husband at the Kiss of Peace in Mass. There was a shock of electricity that went up my arm in college. I'm like, whoa, I should pay attention. This has not happened before, okay? But that dream for both of us is an important one. And we need to know, and I'll leave time for questions if you want to ask them, otherwise you can come ask me personally, okay? But when you girls get this line from them, I'm going to die if I can't have sex with you. Here's your answer. Pay attention, gentlemen. There is no known case. Can I stay and watch? Because there's no known case where a man will ever die because he couldn't have sex. If you manage this, there's going to be a documentary, and I'm going to be on TV. It's true. All right? I share that again because there's so many lies about sex and myths. And we need to be informed so that we make good choices for our lives, okay? And it's my hope in having talked about this that you guys are coming away with a different sense. That, as a couple, we're in this together in terms of babies, that you guys are changed by the pregnancy to become fathers. And you guys are changed by the pregnancy and becoming mothers. And one thing for you women, okay, when those guys are in their prolactin phase, you can do the following, and they will accommodate you. Dear, I know it's midnight, but could you get me Starbucks and diapers? He's gone, all right? And then when it starts to die off, it slows down, you ask the same question, and he says, it's 11:30. How about coffee in the morning and diapers later, okay? It's just your clue about that, all right? But this reality, again, of the care. Now, it's very funny because I had a guy say to me, and he told me I could use this. He said, when we had a new baby in the house, I would have gone anywhere to get a break. I'd go for coffee, diapers, whatever. So he said I could tell you that. But just the acknowledgement of how we change in terms of this, in terms of our bodies and things. So, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I want you to think about it. You can look this stuff up on the internet. I did not make this up. There are more than 60 books that I'm talking from. But the research is there. The question of carrying the cells of our children and carrying our mother cells and our sibling cells. The fact that we women carry those cells at 4 weeks. The fact that by scent that we're pregnant. That dance that God made for us is so awesome. And again, I've spent my life helping people recover from sexual woundedness, from abortion, both men and women. Men get suicidal, so do women. You have a friend who's had an abortion, you pay attention. Because in the 6 months after that abortion, she's 10 times likely to attempt a suicide. If you're with her and she's suicidal, you get her something sweet to drink with sugar, not with artificial sweetener. You get her protein, you stay with her, and you call someone for help. You must take her serious. You guys, your friends get suicidal too after an abortion. But they don't know who to talk to because they're not supposed to be involved, are they? You had a friend who's had an abortion. You take him for a walk, you listen to him. Don't look at him eye to eye because it's threatening for men. We women can do eye to eye. You guys, this is not part of your thing. Listen to him, get him help, all right? Same thing in terms of suicidality. Get him something to drink, get him some protein, stay with him and get him help. Take him seriously. The incidence of suicidality among your age range is very, very high, okay? So hopefully this is helpful for you. I'll be around to take questions. If you guys have follow-up questions and you want to email me instead, you can email me at Vicki Thorn, Thorn, okay, 2004 at yahoo.com, all right? And I'll answer you as soon as I can. Now, you have to understand I travel a lot. I do not travel with a computer because I'm busy the whole time I'm gone. When I get back, I'll answer you. If you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, send it again because stuff goes off into the cloud and doesn't land where it's supposed to. But I'll do my best to answer questions, to point you in the direction of stuff you need to know. But I invite you to take this seriously and to really think about it because it can make you so much happier. Now, footnote, this is a footnote. I gave this talk in a Protestant church one night, and I had 2 college guys afterwards, and I talked about the pill issue. They came up to me and they said, Mrs. Thorn, we've made a decision. What's that, guys? If a girl finds us attractive, we're going to ask her if she's on the pill. I said, that's not going to make you popular, but it'll make you happy, all right? God, this is up on YouTube. People come up to me and say, hey, Mrs. Thorn, you know those guys? I asked the same question, okay? We need to be responsible for both our women and men to make good choices in our lives, to affirm our sexuality. It's a gift from God. And to really be present and to respect each other, because it is about complementarity. The gifts they have are not gifts you have. You have gifts they don't have. And so to recognize that and to truly appreciate it. So hopefully this was helpful. If any of you have a question you want to ask out loud, I am happy to do that. If not, I'll be over here and you want to come ask me privately, I am more than happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Any public questions for her? I guess not. She'll be over there. Adam? Okay. So if you have your parents, you can go up and say hi. You don't have to have a personal question for her. You can go and say hi and say thank you. And have a good evening.